This is Journaling with Cartoons. If you want to draw or make something alongside, I thought I'd just share with you what I'm doing. If you're curious, the app that I'm using is called Procreate. And I'm just setting myself up. The little dial on the left, which you can't see, is being set at 8%. But what can I do to help encourage you to be drawing? Sometimes I have a fixed idea about what I'm going to be drawing, but sometimes I just have to kind of do a big circle in the middle as the head, and then I figure out what I'm going to say afterwards. And that's what I'm doing here. Because I'm recording, I'm kind of forcing myself to be creating rather than being inspired and just making something. Very often I'm in bed or something like that when I'm just thinking, oh, that's a good idea. I'm just going to write those words down. So sometimes you may see what's called a gallery shot where all the other cartoons are, and you'll see that sometimes I've just written a few particular words and scribbled it because I don't know what I'm going to draw, but I just like the words. They particularly attract me. And very often on a night time when I go to bed, I'm watching YouTube and I'm chilling out, and I'm supposed to be switching off and almost falling asleep, and suddenly they'll say something and the words just jump out at me, and I feel like, oh, I've got to write those down. This, I'm not sure if you can see, I was trying to draw keys. Yeah, and then when I'm doing a hair, you can see it's quick. I'm not doing artisty type things. Is it this not artisty? I'm switching off. I think one of the things I particularly like about this is that I really am switching off. I'd completely forgotten. By this point, I've forgotten about the recording. And sometimes I move the iPad when I'm doing one of these longer recordings. But I thought it might be useful for you to actually see how it goes. I'm adding the colour. I don't know if you can read what it says. It says this one is for you. And it's about a key. Sometimes they come out quite sweet or quite cute, and this is one of those times, and you probably tell by my tone of voice, don't always like it when it comes out sweet and cute. I prefer it being a bit edgy or a bit riskier, or I don't know, even a bit rude. Like, just sometimes I like it when it surprises me when something comes out. But yeah, sometimes it's sweet and cute. They're easy to share. There are a few of my cartoons where I haven't shared them yet. I'm not sure I'm feeling brave enough. So yeah, I've written the word doors, doors, doors. If you've seen any of my other works, you'll see that doors come up all the time. And I'm trying to prompt myself here, like, what's going on with the doors? Dear me. And I just can't help myself, so I'm wondering what's going on with the door. And I'm trying to prompt myself to do something. I can't remember what this is. Doors, 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 and then there's a few different people. It's funny because I can't remember doing this cartoon, but I know when I'm doing them, very often I don't have a clue what I'm doing and I'm just adding to it. That's why when you'll see in the book that I've written, I talk about the nature of improvisation. Sometimes it's you draw something and then you add something else and you don't really have a clear vision of where it's going. And this is definitely the case for here. What I've just done, I don't know whether you can see, is that I've added a layer. And that means that I can delete the layer without deleting the whole thing. Oh, I'm doing little doors on their clothes, am I? At this point, I think I was pretty obsessed. Although I was doing a lot of doors, I was also pretty obsessed with Facebook and feeling really unhappy with Facebook. And that's one of the things I was probably doing there. I joined a few groups on Facebook and had been told that those groups were for sharing and connecting with other people. And so I would share and talk about different things that I was doing, and nobody else would share. I was like, oh, okay, well now it just seems like I'm shouting and talking about myself. And then the person who was running the group would reach out to me and say, "Oh, you're great, share more." And I'd share again. So this happened 2 or 3 times, and I'd share again. And then I thought, oh my goodness, it just looks like it's only me sharing. It looks like, I don't know, I'm trying to develop my own little fan club going on here. And I wasn't. I was trying to go first and encourage other people. So another door. And I've said maybe it's not a room for this cartoon. I think it was that I was really trying to connect it to other people, and particularly to other artists. And a couple of times I actually reached out to the person who was running the group, and I said, look, I feel really awkward about this. I'm not sure that I should be doing what I'm doing. And they said, no, it's great. And then I said, well, you share something too. These are the people running it. And they went, no, the group is not about me. And I was like, well, no, the group is about people sharing, and they're going to follow the lead of the person who's running it. And then the person just said to me, they didn't feel at a point that they could share anything, and they were wanting to keep things quiet. And I completely get that. But once again, everybody's trying to edit or censor themselves and say, okay, I'm only going to share these parts of me. And I was just left feeling really unsatisfied with Facebook as a whole. And I saw this interview with the person who heads up Instagram. And he was saying how the whole goal of Instagram was that you would send whatever post it was that you liked, you would send it to a friend and say, hey, I was thinking about you. And I thought, well, nobody's sending me stuff. So I went through a little phase of reaching out to people on Facebook and saying, hey, I saw this and thought of you. And they seemed quite polite about it. But I'm not sure whether they were particularly happy that I was, I don't know, filling up their messages with these weird and wonderful things I'd found online. But a lot of the time, I'm not even sure what I could send to somebody because I don't know them well enough. I don't know what your Facebook page looks like, or your feed. They call it a feed, don't they? I don't know what your feed looks like. My feed at the moment looks like loads of other people who have small businesses that are looking for customers. And if they think you're a customer, there's kind of answering questions and being friendly and chatty. But there is no friendship element there. And that left me feeling quite sad. This one here, is silence safer? And then she's kind of tucked up in the corner. I wanted to draw somebody tucked up in the corner, and I think I wrote this, is silence safer, first. You can see that I'm really conflicted about this whole Facebook, reach out to people, share your stories. And I'm definitely thinking it's better to be silent because, what, you can't be misunderstood when you're silent? I don't know. You can be misunderstood when you're silent. When I was younger, everybody used to say that I was aloof. And I'm guessing at that point I was just trying to be safe and silent. If you're new to watching the journaling with cartoons, you'll see that I do this frame first of all. And if you're wondering what I'm doing in that top left-hand corner, I'm writing my name. That's just my way of preparing and getting started. Kind of set the scene. You'll see there's loads of thinking about it. So there, if you can't read it, it says name it. And I've done an arrow. But there's a long pause because I really don't know what I'm doing next. I normally add a character, and it's normally me as a stick person, but it could be an animal or something like that. What I ideally like to do is kind of be a little abstract in terms of what the meaning could be. Not quite sure what I had in mind here, but I'm clearly making her point or stretch towards something. Maybe I'll write something else and give me a bit more of a clue. This reminds me, when I was at school, people used to say, I haven't done any homework, I haven't done any revision for my studies. And I would take them literally at their word and think, okay, well, if they haven't done any homework, I won't do the homework either. Turns out they had done some homework. Maybe they had done a lot less than what they thought they should. But this is me. I take people sort of, as I say, literally. So I don't know where I was going with that. Something about the cartoons and sharing. When people say share, I think they mean share. Oh, and when I say I don't know what I'm doing, it's improvisation and I'm just doing the circle as the head and just figuring it out from there. I really mean that. I mean, I do not know what I'm doing. This is not some sort of, oh, I'm an artist and let me pretend that I know what I'm doing, but I'm just kind of thinking this makes me sound like a grand artist if I pretend I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't know what I'm doing. What's this one? You can probably tell that I did this swirly motion on there and I didn't know what I was going to do next. And then I've put a very tiny stick person just blown around in the air. Lately, the doors thing was a few months ago. In the last 4 months, 3 or 4 months, there's quite a lot of me falling from great heights or being blown around in the air. It's one of the fun things about doing the journaling with cartoons is that you can look back at them and see different themes coming up. And clearly, I've been feeling like I was up in the air and not grounded at all. So here, a long pause, trying to figure out what to do. You may be, if you do journaling, you may have been told that you need to do writing every single day. You can see from this is that I'm not drawing every day. But when I do sit down to do it, it can be 15, 20 minutes, but I can rattle out 10, 12 images. And it's given me a chance to completely switch off and focus on that. And later, when I want to look back and check for themes or connections or just review what I've done, I've got 10, 12 images just from a 15-minute sit down. I do find that I've probably gone into the app once a day, but it tends to be, once a day, once every 2 days, but it does tend to be sometimes I'm just scribbling down ideas or a particular word. I think at one point I heard somebody say octopus and I thought, oh, that's a good shape. That's kind of an iconic shape that I need to remember, so I just wrote the word octopus. This time I remember I did the line and I was almost thinking, sometimes you can do a line and it suggests movement, but I felt like the line had gone wrong and so I made it into a ladder. And ladder has also got a lot of symbology for it. So if you're doing your own cartoons and you're thinking, what kind of images can I use? Cliffs are good. Clouds are good. Putting a ground level in is good. Ladders are good. Keys are good. All things that are super simple to draw, but tend to have quite a bit of meaning that people can interpret in different ways. I think it's so funny that as I say, I don't know how many times I need to tell you. I have no idea what I'm doing. You could see it's not like I have a word or an image. In the book, I give you prompts to get started because this is clearly, I've been doing this for 5 years. And so I'm not afraid of starting this image. Oh, yes, spiders. What is it with me and spiders? I had a little phase of doing spiders all the time. I don't know whether you're into the meaning of different things. If you can tell me what spiders are supposed to mean. Funny. But again, another shape that is people, if you do that, and I think I'm trying to give it eyes, trying to find a white so I can give it eyes. Some shapes just everybody knows immediately. If I did a cobweb now, that would make it even easier to understand. And that's part of doing the journaling with cartoons, is that you start noticing particular shapes. This is something that I found when I was watching, if you ever watched the improvisation games, and they talk about, it's kind of drama and acting and improvisation, and then they have to pretend to be a certain type of person, and they say something, and immediately you know who they're talking about and what they're doing. But I wouldn't have been able to put into words or think about it beforehand. I recognise it later, but I wouldn't have been able to think about it beforehand. And I think that's one of the things I noticed about the drawings and the cartoons. Afterwards, you will say, oh, of course I know how to draw a spider. But beforehand, you may think, oh, I don't know how to do a spider, or I don't know how to symbolise a creature in a net or something. I just can't believe I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't know what I'm doing. You don't have to share your cartoons. I find it kind of fun to share them because I think it's a way to see inside my mind. But there are definitely pictures that I don't share. I have a feeling I haven't shared this one because it started to look too fussy. It was just confusion. I thought it was funny to make the spider speak. This is supposed to be a microphone that it's close to. I thought it would be funny to make the spider speak. Are you drawing? So I was saying that in the book I go through different shapes and different prompts to remind you that you do actually know how to do some of these images in a super simple way. It's just that you haven't stopped and put it in your memory bank as being useful information, probably because it wasn't useful information. But now you can see it at the bottom. I've done like a swirly line. That's the cable for the microphone. And sometimes those kind of squiggly lines for cables. For example, if I was drawing a phone, I do that squiggly line for a cable. And nowadays we don't have phones and cables like that, but I think that's just a useful way to draw it. I don't know whether younger people know what I'm doing, but I'm kind of assuming so. But again, I'm drawing this for me, really, for my own fun. Maybe I should have left it like that. I know what I do next, but maybe I should have left it with just the spider talking into the microphone. I think at the moment I'm feeling that sometimes I feel like I'm trying really hard to make something, or to make something interesting or quirky. And when I look back later, that's the energy and the vibe that I pick up on, is that, wow, you were trying too hard then. You didn't let it flow, and you didn't just move on to the next thing. I thought it'd be funny to think that, I think what it was is that I was worried that it didn't look like a microphone. And so I've done my little person singing into the microphone, but it's the spider that's saying that they want to speak. But as I say, in hindsight, I think maybe I just tried too hard and should have kept going and had a go at something else. Once again, you can see that I'm changing the width of the pen. Well, hopefully you've been creating and drawing, maybe doing